Hello, statistics students. Welcome to another video on the linear regression model, checking the conditions of the model. Up to now, we've described the linear model conceptually, but to be more precise, we now list the particular conditions that must hold for the linear model to be a valid description of the data. Number one, linearity. We've talked a lot about this. The trend must be linear before we determine the linear regression model and try to make any sort of predictions and inferences. Number two, normality. The errors follow a normal distribution with mean zero and standard deviation represented by S or sigma. In shorthand notation, the distribution of the residuals must be N0 sigma. Number three, constant standard deviation. The standard deviation sigma must be the same for all values of the predictor variable. This will be explained in more detail shortly. And for an example, you can see figure 14.9 in the textbook. And number four, independence. The errors must be independent of one another. Knowing that one observation is, say, above the line should tell us nothing about whether the next observation is above or below the line, or by how much. A very useful tool for checking conditions 1 and 3 of the model is the residual plot. A residual plot is a scatter plot that has the residuals on the vertical axis and the original x values on the horizontal axis. Residual plots are like magnifying glasses in that they zoom in on potential problems in the model and make it easier to spot deviations from the linearity condition and the constant standard deviation condition. Most statistical packages either produce residual plots automatically as part of the regression analysis or will produce them upon request. Figure 14.2 shows the residual plot for our 4 books. So we need to start getting used to seeing these residual plots. And so you'll see the residuals on the left, 0 being the center line. So we see a residual or a difference that's positive for the first one, negative for the second one, positive for the first, and negative for the second. Figure 14.3a shows a scatter plot of the cost of a plane trip versus the distance traveled for 4 trips. The regression line is included on the scatter plot. The colored vertical lines represent the residuals. The value of the residual is the length of the vertical line, which is the distance between the point and the regression line. If the point is above the line, then the residual has a positive value. If the point is below the line, then the residual has a negative value. Figure 14.3b shows these residuals plotted on the vertical axis. It illustrates that the residual plot magnifies the residuals so that they can be seen more clearly. The scale of figure 14.3b makes the residuals easier to see. We'll be using this residual plot a lot in this section. And this concludes this video on the linear regression model, checking the conditions of the model.